Thank you. Okay, here we go, the questions. And even what I said this morning about questions, I remember just as a young man, just sometimes asking questions of very senior monks and people who are supposed to be professors, and you could feel they weren't taking me seriously. You know, when you ask a question, to me it was a serious question, but to me I was not important, and they tried to get rid of me. There was a nasty feeling. And after that I always remembered that if anybody has the guts to actually ask a question, write it down. Of course, you know, you don't put your name next to it. We can always check on the application forms which you did. Who actually wrote these questions. But we never will do that. But it's just I respect the questions because they're important to you. And I try my best to answer them. If I can't answer them or I don't answer them accurately, please forgive me. And if we don't have enough time to answer every question, again, please forgive me. But anyway, is focusing on the breath too controlling? What is your perspective on pranayama as a supporting practice alongside meditation? It's, you know, pranayama, just prana, it's the same as pana. You know, pana is anapanasati. That's just anapanasati is the Pali term, and pranayama is almost like the Sanskrit. But they have a lot of similarities. The most important thing is that you can focus on your breath if you wish to at the very beginning of the meditation. But a lot of times you will probably find it a little bit counterproductive. It's not so bad at the beginning of the meditation because you're just settling down. You can focus on it, but don't focus on it too long. Because there comes a time when you have to let things be. You can't sort of... I've seen this as what we call sometimes backseat drivers. Have you ever had a backseat driver? You know, you're going back home and there's somebody behind you. They say, don't go this way, go that way. You're going too fast, you're going too slow. Just be careful, let the other traffic in. You're trying to control when it's not your job to control. You're a passenger. Imagine you did that to the taxi driver who takes you from here, maybe, you know, just back home. Tell the taxi driver, look, don't go too fast. You know, I'll just come out of a meditation retreat. Go slowly. Turn down your radio. Don't go this way, go that way. It's more calmer. And don't sort of cut into other traffic. Don't do it this way, don't do it that way. It's not your job to tell the taxi driver what to do. And sometimes I imagine if you did take a taxi from here, going back home somewhere, a lot of times the taxi driver would throw you out before you get to the gate at the top of the hill. I know how to drive the taxi, says the taxi driver. You relax in the back. I will get you there. And that's the same with your meditation. It's like the mind knows what to do. When you keep giving it orders and try and controlling it, sometimes it just makes everything way too tense inside. And a lot of time it's because of impatience. You wait long enough, and you'll find that the mind will settle down all by itself. That's almost something I can guarantee each one of you. You think, oh, I've got to do something, my meditation's all over the place. It's not. Relax, be peaceful, and after another 8 days, you know, you'll be amazed how peaceful you've become. That's even I put my hand up for that as well. When I do these 9-day retreats, I think, oh, I'm just going to relax. But then when I sort of come out of the retreat, wow, it's amazing how wonderful this meditation is and how you just can let go and just go so deep and so powerful. It does it by itself. I do nothing. I just get out of the way. But anyway, I'll be saying much more about the breath meditation tomorrow. I'm glad I never said too much about the breath meditation this morning, because it's better to actually do things like walking meditation first, and then when you actually start to do the breath meditation, you'll find it easier. And of course, the longer you stay here, the more you relax and settle into the place, the easier it is to do breath meditation. It's one of the things which I was just talking to a visitor yesterday, and we're talking about the first years I came over here to Perth, and the head monk was another monk, that was Ajahn Brahm. And one of the things which I took on board when he said, when he started hearing me teach, he said, "You're really good talking about the deep levels of meditation, but you should spend more time teaching others about the beginning levels of meditation, the start of it." And it was such a wonderful point, and I really thank him for that. Just because the beginning meditations, just learning how to sit down and be peaceful. Simple stuff. If you get the beginnings right, then the stuff which I was teaching in those days is easy, it happens naturally. You get very peaceful and very still, all by yourself. And a lot of times the instructions are just don't interfere. It's happening, it's working, let it be. And it surprises you. But the supporting practices, yes, all these things are great as supporting practices. Doing things like yoga, doing sort of stretching exercises, doing I don't know what else you get up to, Tai Chi or whatever, that's all great. It's not sort of getting in the way of meditation, especially at the beginning of the meditation, to get yourself exercised and get yourself relaxed. But then it comes to the point in meditation, you just want to sit or just do walking. And just all this other stuff, it seems a bit coarse. When you're making sort of furniture, you start with a piece of wood. And then you've got to make it smooth. Use like a plane, first of all, or even saw it to size and then plane it. And once it's planed, then you've got to sand it. And you use a rough sandpaper first of all, then a medium, then a fine sandpaper, then a cloth and some oil. You can't use a cloth and oil if the piece of wood is rough. That's why you can't use refined methods of meditation if you're just starting a retreat and your mind is all over the place. So the coarser methods are great at the very beginning, just to relax yourself. And how do you know whether you should be using the coarser methods of meditation or the more refined methods of meditation? The nature of human beings is to be a bit proud. And so we always think we're far more advanced than we really are. So just give it just the benefit of the doubt and do sort of just learning how to relax first of all, learning how to be peaceful. So if you want to do pranayama or Tai Chi or Reiki or whatever, the monks are often, you can go over to monastery overside, you can often see the monks doing Reiki, because there's so many leaves fall on the ground, they have to rake them here and rake them there. I'm sorry. That's my nature, saying stupid jokes. Anyway. Okay, so experiment, give it a try. But it's usually the coarser types of meditation, the supporting things, do it at the very beginning. Once you really get into it, don't disturb it. You find it's a path, and the mind just doesn't want to do that. Dear Ajahn Brahm, in the Chinese legend, someone who falls asleep in the Buddha shrine will become a snake because of disrespect. Something which I was told when I was a lay Buddhist would say, anyone who writes a book, and I've written many books, anyone who writes a book will have to spend the next 7 lifetimes as a donkey. And have a look about how many books which I've written. Oh, that's so many lives as a donkey I've got to live. That never stopped me though, I just laughed. So you have a legend, who falls asleep in the Buddha shrine will become a snake because the disrespect is that the case for the... is that the case for Thai temples? No. Because I accidentally fell asleep for 8 hours in the temple in Bodhinyana. Whoa, 8 hours. That must be a very big snake you're going to become. You'll only be a snake for 8 hours and then up. No, that's not true. One of the nice things which I liked about Buddhism was it's so kind and forgiving. And if that's what you do, if you fall asleep in the hall, if you fell asleep here in the hall, this evening, say, then anyone who's quite close to you, make sure you get a few more cushions, or a blanket and put it over them. Be kind. That's much more beautiful than, get up, you're asleep in the hall. So often when you find out why people go to sleep, especially if it's in the hall, it's because this is a calm, quiet place. Or Bodhinyana, it's a very calm place. And for once you feel that you are safe enough to go to sleep. That reminded me, I often mention this because this was an important example. One evening at Noramara Center in Dhammaloka, that when I started the guided meditation at the 7:30, after about 5 minutes, one of the ladies there, she stretched out on the ground and she fell fast asleep. And she started to snore, quite loudly. And there's a couple of people sitting next to her. They opened their eyes and they woke her up. So you shouldn't snore in the main hall, it's bad. And that was afterwards I gave a talk on the subject. To say that lady at that time, she was a victim of domestic abuse. And she wasn't really a Buddhist even, but she came to the temple to sort of looking desperate for some help. And when she came into our hall and we started meditating, it felt so safe. And she was calm. And she was hadn't slept, I don't know, maybe an hour or two a day for the last 3 or 4 days. And the poor lady just needed to catch up. When I said that afterwards, then she could sleep whenever she wanted, in the middle of meditation, in the middle of my talks, whatever she wanted to do, because out of compassion and kindness for her. Once you tell the reason why, then people find it so much easier to be kind and compassionate. But as for you, exactly the same. Be kind, be compassionate, be forgiving. For some reason or another, you needed to do that. Fine. Because, we have Buddha statues here. But what does a Buddha statue mean? I usually say this story. I really like this story because just to show the effect of compassion and kindness and real understanding. We have Buddha statues all around the place. We can't escape from them. We don't want to. But when I went to go and give a talk at this big Christian school, a Christchurch grammar school. I don't know if you know that. That's a really posh school. Incredible real estate, overlooking the river. And so I was supposed to give a talk there, just a morning talk, because I knew the chaplain there, Frank Sheehan. And so he invited me to go and give the morning talk, and so I went there early and had to stand outside the assembly hall while the kids got settled, together with the chaplain and with the principal. So the three of us were just waiting outside, and we would go in procession inside the hall. And they said there was a statue of Jesus there, and that it was their tradition to just bow their heads. The statue of Jesus, they were Anglicans, well-known Anglicans. And so they said, but you're a Buddhist monk, you don't need to. And please excuse me if you heard this story, but for me it was an important story. And then I said to the principal, thank you, but I demand my right to bow to your statue of Jesus. Being quite rebellious. And he got shocked by that. And he said, why? He said, because I can always see something in your statue which I can respect. And that's what I'm going to bow to. And then I said to him, that's why I bow to a Buddha statue 3 times. The first bow is not that's gold-plated, that stuff, but I'm not bowing to gold. What I'm bowing to is what it represents to me. And to me, it's always, the Buddha represents to me, just first of all, virtue. Example of goodness, honesty, trustworthiness. And I try my hardest in my life always to be trustworthy. If I make a promise, I will really try hard to keep it. And so I won't let anybody down. If I can't go to some event, I will let people know and try to get someone to go in my place. But If I say I'm going to do something, I really try hard to do it. It's like honesty, trustworthiness. And things like that I've seen are so beautiful in our world. Now that you have all these people living together here for the next sort of 60 days. Sorry, no, 60 people for the next 9 days. Who knows? Maybe longer, yeah, very good. But I don't know, do you lock your doors of your room? You don't have to. You can trust people in this place. It's wonderful, that sort of trust you have for one another. So, you just, no need to worry about anything here. And number 2, you don't even need to worry for the little animals, the little snakes. Have we seen the dugite yet? Because usually every year there's this beautiful snake which comes in the hot time of the year. It's safe, it won't attack you. Don't be stupid and just try and pat it on the head or anything. But it's just a very beautiful snake. And for some reason or another, when you're kind to animals, you respect them, they never hurt or harm you at all. So quite often the people see the dugite when it's here, and it's quite a long one, but it's very friendly. It just does what it needs to do, and I think Bianca used to put some water out for it, especially on the hot days, because it's, you get really thirsty on hot days. Why can't we put something out for this little snake? And it's very friendly. So those are examples. When you have virtue, you have safety. You don't harm others, and others won't harm you. And they just do what dugites need to do and have a wonderful time. I'm really very happy that you have animals who can be dangerous outside, but they're respected here. It's like a refuge for them. And of course, that's the first bow, to virtue. The second bow is to peace. Because I really respect peace in my life. To be quiet, to be calm, and give other people the opportunity for peace and silence. Building this place, having monasteries, having your own rooms. I should have mentioned that earlier. You can always meditate in your own room if you wish to. Because in your room, you can meditate as long as you want. You don't have to worry about other people looking at you. And you can just sit there quietly or do a little bit of standing meditation or walking meditation or lying down meditation. If you need to go to the toilet, you can go to the toilet. You can make it just the temperature you like as best you can. So sometimes your own rooms are some of the best meditation places in the whole retreat center. And just trying to give people the gift of peace and quietness. So I worship peace. Peace in monastery, amongst the community there, peace in the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, peace in your family, peace as far as you can take it, but most importantly, peace inside your own mind. And so whenever I think of peace, I want to bow to it. And the last thing is kindness. Sometimes I used to bow to wisdom, but I don't know, I get sort of more benefit, I reckon, by bowing to kindness, compassion, which is part of wisdom. Because every time you see someone do a really kind, compassionate thing, it just lifts up your heart. Just what wonderful people there are, and how lucky you are to be in a place where people make compassion and kindness more important than anything else. That's why we do have, because I'm supposed to be the boss of Bodhinyana Monastery, but we do have the rules we have to keep according to the Vinaya. Those are monastic rules. We also have what we call our local rules, the rules of the monastery, special things which we can do there or we can't do there. And the first rule, because when we were just writing it out, they wanted me to have a look at it, and I just changed the order of the rules, and the first rule is compassion, kindness. It's more important than anything else. If anybody breaks any precept or anything, kindness comes first. Forgive, be kind. Understand, I don't know why they did that. It says to work out why. But the kindness is more important than anything else. And that's why I worship kindness. And when I said that's what I bow down to virtue, peace and kindness. And then The beautiful thing afterwards was that school, they hired buses afterwards to come and visit Bodhinyana Monastery. And the principal came as well. And the principal came in his own car. And so I met him at the gate. And we went into the main hall of Bodhinyana together. And I wish I had a photographer there. Because the two of us, we bowed. The full Buddhist bow to the Buddha statue in the main hall of Bodhinyana Monastery. He did that voluntarily. He said, I understand what bowing is about now. Even though I'm a prominent Christian, still I don't mind bowing once I realize what I'm bowing to. Virtue, peace and compassion. Well, that's really beautiful. That's actually how we understand all of these. Falling asleep in a temple. Ah, come on, you're tired. Fine, no worries. So, next question. How to be kind to myself when I have so many defilements, e.g. crappy mood, sometimes not that kind or nice to others or self? I was telling people a few days ago all the stupid things I used to do when I was a young man. Now, one of the things which I did was to make a bomb. And I was only about 11 years of age, with the help of my friend. And I was a guy, okay, it's a boy thing, I don't know. But anyway, oh yeah, we can do this. And we set it off in the local park in London. And I thought, wow, it worked. It went bang. Oh, I felt so good about myself until I got caught afterwards and I got into trouble. All the stupid things you did when you were young. But one of the nice things was that, your parents had a very good attitude. They were kind to you. And that was, precisely how the Buddha would teach. You make a mistake, you do something wrong. Now learn from it and don't do it again. It's dangerous. If you don't get punished, you learn. And you're forgiven. And that kindness was so much more powerful to me as an encouragement to be a good person than any type of punishment. So, you've got so many defilements. Never mind. That's why we come here. What's the point of coming to Jhana growth if you've got no defilements? If you're already enlightened, then you're taking up somebody else's space who could really benefit from this. So, thank you for coming, ye of great defilements. You have crappy moods sometimes, not that kind or nice to others or self. Never mind. So you may not be able to kind to others, but we'll be kind to you. You may be really sort of bad moods. We'd always smile when you're in a bad mood. Can you do that? Someone's in a bad mood to you, and you can smile back at them. One of the reasons why today, I don't know any of you went to Bodhinyana Monastery. I stayed there a little bit longer this afternoon after lunch because there was an ex-monk there. Many years ago, he was a monk with us. And then he disrobed and got married. And today, that didn't work out the first time, but the second time, he met someone else at the school where he's teaching. And they got married this afternoon. So they wanted me to do the blessing for them. So it's amazing what you get up to as a monk. And just, why? Why do they want a monk to do the blessing for them when they're getting married? It's because there's somehow or other, even though I haven't been married, even though, it's years and years and years I've been celibate, for over 47 years, 48 years. But nevertheless, you've still got your kindness. And with that kindness, the wisdom, so you can give them this wonderful teachings on how just, when you look at your partner in life, don't just look at what's wrong with them. Look at what's right with them. Look at their beautiful qualities. Because if you start looking at all their terrible qualities, you can't stand them. But instead, look at their beautiful qualities, their kindness, their purity. They're not totally pure, but they're more than good enough. And those are the things you can respect. Even I could respect sort of that Buddha statue in Christchurch Grammar School, sort of assembly room, whatever you called it, enough to bow to it. Do you understand that? So, yourself, all the little moods you have and stuff. Why is it we always focus on our weak points and our defilements? How many good qualities have you got? Huge amounts. Focus on them. That's one of the reasons why. You know, the two bad bricks in the wall story. That's one of my favorite stories. A real story. It's not from the suttas. That was my own life. And it really surprised me. Why I thought I was an intelligent, young man, but still I could make a couple of mistakes and I could ruin sort of days and days of my life. And I was embarrassed about them. First of all, honesty is great. Tell other people the terrible things you've done. I'm honest about that. Tell them. Because then you find it's nowhere near as bad as you thought. That's the first thing. And number two, you'll be able to put it in perspective. Put it in perspective, you're exaggerating it. The more you keep it secret, the more it grows inside of you, and the more worried you are about it. But once you actually face up to it, you acknowledge it, you're truthful to it, and after a while, you'll find it's not a big thing after all. And also, you've done so many other wonderful good things in your life. So, yeah, this one lady who was, she was dying of cancer, Westerners. She was English. But then, doing some counseling for her, and then I asked her, she was about 3 weeks or so from death, and I asked her, I said, "You trust me now?" She said, "Yeah, I trust you." So what's the worst thing you've ever done in your life? I said, "I can't tell you." I said, "Look, you're going to die soon. You might as well. What's the worst thing you've ever done in your life?" And I said to her, "I won't tell anybody." I told thousands. Thousands. And I don't think she would mind either, because she understands why I'm telling other people. That what she said was that she was maybe 60 or 70 years of age, and she said that only once in her life, she'd kissed another woman's husband. What else did you do? That's all, just kissed another woman's husband. I said, in 60 or 70 years of life, that's not bad. We can give you that one. What it meant was once she acknowledged it and let somebody else hear about it, it wasn't that as bad as she thought it was. She thought she was a terrible person. Come on. That's not that bad, is it? Oh, what about a monk? As a monk, I told this story in one of my books, so please don't blurt out the answer. You know that many years ago I made a confession, and I said that I spent some of the happiest years of my life in the loving arms of another man's wife. I did. We kissed, we hugged, we loved each other. Was that bad? That woman was my mum. She was married to my dad. When I was a lay person, obviously, I spent some of the most wonderful, loving years of my life in the arms of another man's wife. And of course, once you explain everything, oh yeah. But that was one of the wonderful things, to be able to tell people about any faults you've had, and you find they're not as bad as you imagined they were. That wall has beautiful bricks in the wall as well. So that's one of the reasons why you can overcome all sorts of stuff when you put things in perspective. Okay. Hi, Ajahn. Hi. Tell us about anusaya, the mental fermentations. How can we use these in our practice? Anusaya is fermentations. I don't know if that word is appropriate, but it's almost like tendencies. You know, just if you practice, like, for example, let's make it personal. Ajahn Brahm, I've got this tendency to tell stupid jokes. Like the boy who wouldn't get up in the morning. And so there was this mum went to her son's bedroom and said, "It's time you got to get up." "I don't want to get up," said the son. "You got to go to school." "Well, I don't want to go to school, Mummy." "But you have to go to school." "Why?" "You know, the teachers don't like me. Just the children in the school don't like me. Why should I go to school?" "Because, son, you're the principal." Hey, some of you didn't hear that before. What's that got to do with the meditation retreat? That's part of my anusaya. And of course, I just do say those things because it does give you a bit of happiness and joy in the evening. What is your perspective on movement practices? Like going to toilet? No. Oh, sorry, I better restrain myself. Like yoga especially, but also hiking, swimming, rollerblading. Do you think there can be meditation like walking meditation? Going rollerblading. I've never seen people do that in the meditation halls. You have to go very slowly. Can you do that? Have you got many gears on rollerblades? Can you just... The whole idea of anything movement is to try and be calm and be quiet. So I don't think rollerblading gets into that. But hiking, especially just for going for walks over here in Jhana Grove. But if you go for a walk, just don't go trying to think out solutions to problems. If you're going to be having a walk in the forest, see if you can go peaceful. Be more like a listener rather than talking to yourself. Otherwise you can go for a walk for 2 or 3, 4 hours and you don't see anything because you're thinking all the time. And it's a nice little segue into the story which I always tell every retreat of one of the great Chinese masters who would go for a walk every evening with one of his students, but the student had to keep silent. They weren't allowed to speak. The walk was usually a couple of hours. And so on this evening, he chose a new student, and they went for a walk through the forest, up into the hills, and they got to a ridge in the mountains at sunset. It was a gorgeous sunset. You know, sometimes, even here, we're on top of a hill, so you can see some of the sunsets over the Indian Ocean. And they're magnificent. Even sometimes that people would actually walk, we can't really do it now because we've changed the question and answer time to 7 p.m. I think it used to be 8 p.m. Many people would actually go to walk to the lookout to see the sun go down over the Indian Ocean. And some of those sunsets were absolutely amazing. But anyway, there's one of those amazing sunsets, you know, close to this person's monastery. And the sunset was so amazing that the student couldn't help himself but say, "Wow, what a wonderful sunset." And at that, the monk turned around and walked back to the monastery. And when they got back to the monastery, there the teacher, it was Lao Tzu, he said, "That young student can't go on a walk with me ever again." He broke the rule, spoke. And of course the friend said, "Isn't that a bit strict? It was a beautiful sunset. What is wrong with saying, 'What a beautiful sunset'?" And the answer why it was wrong, that made a great deal of difference in my understanding of the importance of silence. And if you're going for a walk, please be quiet inside. Because the teacher said, when the student said, "What a beautiful sunset," he wasn't watching the sunset anymore. He was watching the words. I don't know about you, but that answer just hit me really sort of very deeply when I was a young man. We try and say, "Oh, what a great retreat this is." You're watching words, you're not actually in the retreat itself. When you stop and say, "Oh, it's a delicious meal today," then you're not tasting the meal anymore. You're getting lost in descriptions and words which miss the point. So little by little, if you do go for a walk in the forest here, be quiet and let nature teach you. You're so sensitive, so open, you can hear everything. And it's amazing just the sounds which you can pick up in the forest. And some of the beauty which is there, which other people just can't see. So little by little, if you want to do anything which is active like that, please make sure your mind is reasonably quiet. So they can be sort of meditative, but they can't get deep in meditation. Deep meditation needs stillness. So, if you're walking, you can't be that still. Some people do standing meditation. That's very difficult. But to be able to do sitting meditation, or even lying down meditation, it's easy to be still when you're doing those things. Hi Ajahn, please tell us about setting right intentions when we sit down to practice, then how we take these off the cushion. Right intentions. There's no such thing as right intention in the Eightfold Path. It's really not a good translation of Sammasankappa. It's more meaningful, more accurate to call it right motivation, not intention. Intention is where you're going to. And sometimes, meditating, you come here, what are you aiming for? What's your intention coming here? Because they get enlightened. Have you any idea what enlightenment is? Maybe when you get there, you feel that you've been conned. You shouldn't have really got there. You didn't really want it. You're just believing in the advertising. Enlightenment is really cool and wonderful. It is, by the way, but nevertheless, sometimes you can doubt, what are you doing this for? Get into deep meditations, jhanas. Do you want those? When you don't really understand what they are, there's something which is a bit, is this really what you need, what you want in your life? So instead of actually aiming for something, we learn what we're experiencing right now, something which is more truthful, and see that peace grow. Because little by little in your meditation, enlightenment just grows. The jhanas just grow. You become more peaceful, more blissed out, more still. Hardly anything bothers you. And that's actually a sign that you're actually going in the right direction. And it feels good. It's what is healing for your body, healing for your mind, healing for everything, your family, or whatever. So little by little, you say, what intention, what's my goal? And you find all the goals you have in life. Do you really want those goals? You want to be rich? Do you know what it's like being rich? A few times, being a monk, especially a senior monk, you have all these little openings to see really, 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 really rich people. One of the rich people I went to see, he was I think he owned Tropicana Resorts Company over in Malaysia. So, multi-billionaire. And just going to his house to give him a blessing. And honestly, there were guards at the gates with machine guns. I didn't know whether I was going to visit like a free person. I was going into a detention camp. He was a very nice man, but he was a prisoner inside his mansion. And I thought, do you really want to be like that? Much better to give all your money away and be peaceful. You see, like people who have been like big politicians, presidents and stuff. And I tell this story because there's many Sri Lankans here. Remember just becoming quite well known in Sri Lanka, and so going to see the first president, Rajapaksa. And to go to his, I'd always remember him because, he served me breakfast. He served me himself. He was the executive president of Sri Lanka at the time. And he served me baked beans. I thought, isn't that nice? He'd obviously did his research, but it wasn't that. It was that when he came down, he was rubbing his eyes, he just got up. Because, they have to stay up late at night making decisions and stuff. And the first thing he said to me, he said, "I'm a failure." And he said it with such honesty and it was so unexpected. And at this time, his popularity in Sri Lanka at that time was really high. And he said he was a failure. And he explained to me afterwards why he thought that. He said he joined politics in order to try and find a peaceful solution to the problem with the Tamil Tigers. So that's what he thought he could do. But he failed. And so he took the violent option of war. But when he said that to me, again, be careful what you say to me because I like repeating it online because it just showed his vulnerability. There's still a lot of people like that, big politicians. And if they can really open up to you, they can say how it feels to be a big politician. It's not a very easy life at all. Anyway, so instead of right intentions, what do you want to become a prime minister for, a president for? Anybody who wants to become a president must be a bit lacking a few neurons in your brain or something. Because you work hard, but you don't get much respect or understanding from other people. Anyway, one of my favourite politicians, that was the Premier of West Australia, Jeff Gallop. Remember Jeff Gallop, Dr. Gallop? He's the patron of Jhana Grove. He came to our opening, and he still every year, he sends a Christmas card and a birthday card. So, and he also sent a nice little donation to the BSWA. He's an honorary member, but he still just pays up membership. So, a very nice fellow. But it's a terrible job to have. Anyway, so instead of right intentions, it's nice to have right motivations. Where are you coming from? Not where you're trying to get to. Where are you coming from? And that's the second factor of the Eightfold Path. It's all about right motivation. Coming from letting go. Renunciation. You're not doing this for others, for yourself. You're doing this for a much bigger cause. It's one of the reasons why I think it's very close to Lewis in Sussex, that the local council has a rule which they put into place about 300 years ago, that anybody who's elected to being the mayor of this little principality, this little local government area, if you're elected to mayor, on your election, you are publicly weighed to see how heavy you are. And at the end of your term of office, you're weighed again publicly. And if you put on too much weight, people understand that you must be eating too much from the council rates of the taxpayers. I don't like saying that too much because but it's like trying to keep everybody honest as best as possible. But what is your motivation? What are you doing this for? If anybody thinks being a monk is for an easy life, even like being a nun, is it for an easy life, Venerable Pasada? Well, it's hard work, isn't it? But it's good work, we do it voluntarily. So right motivations, that's more important, of letting go, not for ourselves, but for others, or rather for us, and also out of kindness and gentleness. Those two things. Be kind, be gentle. What's the difference between an Ajahn and a Lung Po? Thank you. Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce this and say not Lung Po, but lumpy. Do I qualify to being a lumpy? That's Lung Pi. But no, Lung Po is a Thai word. It means like Venerable Father. And there is something like that, one of the reasons I said that why I took a couple of hours off the retreat to go and do a wedding blessing for somebody I've known for such a long time. It's almost like family. And it's like each one of you. Sometimes you're like family. So if anything I can do to help, and it's possible to do so, of course you will do that. And so it gives the idea of being part of a family, a senior monk or a senior nun, sort of, who's helped out a lot. An Ajahn just means a teacher. But what is, I have names, like it's not saying Ajahn or this and that and the other, but some of the names which I have, one of the ones I really like is, it's like a nickname. And that nickname is Ajahn Donut. When somebody called me Ajahn Donut, I said, well, where'd you get that one from? And they said, well, donuts, think about it. Number one, a donut is round, it's nice and sweet, and it's holy. I thought, I like that. So that's my nickname, Ajahn Donut. And it's also another thing, you call someone a Lung Po or a big Ajahn, it's just far too easy to get, think that's really serious and to get too proud. That's why, usually it's the other monks and the nuns as well, please, if I get too proud or something, please let me know. Because otherwise, people in positions of authority can sometimes think they're not the spiritual director of the Buddhist Society of West Australia, but instead the spiritual dictator, yes, to the Buddhist Society. So I'll try and make sure I'm not that. I'm not the spiritual dictator on my bill. You better say no or else you're in big trouble. Which proves I am. During walking meditation, do I pay attention to the sensation of the feet only, or do I continue focusing on the breath, or both? Best actually to pay attention to the feet and legs, not the breath. Carry on breathing, but you don't need to pay attention to it. Should Buddhists be concerned with issues such as social justice, refugee detention, global warming, foreign extinction, homelessness, etc., the engaged Buddhism? Yes, as much as you can. But it's, sometimes I think, why can't I do more about some of the problems in the world? And then to find out just being able to teach meditation and to look after the people who are here. And that's my main job. And there's very little time to actually do anything else. But certainly, support it as best you can. How much can we do? That's one of the biggest problems of our modern world. How much can you do? And obviously the part which I've devoted my life to, the spiritual part of it, I focus on that as much as I can. But of course anyone who wants to be concerned with other issues, great, please do so. As much as you can. We did a little bit. I'm quite sort of proud of the Buddhist Society of Western Australia. We've done many, many good things. One of them was for gender equity. Look at these beautiful nuns over there. So you should be very proud of those. You haven't got those in other places of the world. Hi Ajahn Brahm, why when I meditate and dream a story and remember, if compare are not much meditation? Thank you. Why when I meditation and dream a story and remember, if compare are not much meditation? Okay, I'll try and translate that. But I think what it means is when you are meditating and you dream, then you remember that dream. Hopefully that's what goes on here. And of course, there was that meditator who, I was going to say this yesterday, because I told this story to a lady on the underground train in London, on one of the tube trains. This lady came up to me and said, "Are you a Buddhist monk?" I said, "Yes." And you know what she said next? "A real monk?" I said, "Yeah." And then she wanted to know about Buddhism. Instead of looking at a newspaper or an article or listening to her iPhone or whatever. So we had a nice discussion about Buddhism on the underground train. And part of it was saying, "Do you Buddhists believe in reincarnation?" I said, "Yeah, of course we do." That's when I told the story of one of the people on the retreat here. And it was only about, when I was in London that time, it was about 3 months earlier, when I was teaching one of these retreats. And it was an Italian gentleman. And he was having these really strange dreams. And he remembered them very clearly, once he was meditating. And he said the first night he dreamt he was a piece of spaghetti. Have you ever dreamt you were a piece of spaghetti? And the second night he dreamt he was a piece of ravioli. And he was Italian, which explains half of it. But why is dreaming that? And of course, I said I knew the answer, because he was recollecting his past lives. The reason I will never forget that story, this was in an underground train in London, a tube train. And there's many, many people in the tube train. I think it wasn't packed, but it was still, pretty full. And they were all just, reading their newspapers, their Times or whatever in their suits. Or they were just listening to something. Although they couldn't have been listening to something, because all of them, maybe about 80, 90% of them, as soon as I finished the punchline of the joke, they all looked up. Some of them smiled. The rest of them groaned. They all appreciated some different type of entertainment on the morning underground journey. So I made quite an impression on that. Anyway, it made an impression on me as well. So why actually do you dream and remember? Because you've got more mindfulness, you're clearer. So you can remember much better. Dear Ajahn, what is stillness? A lack of movement. Body doesn't move. Your mind doesn't move. The world doesn't move. And it's gorgeous. Stillness, the one simile I didn't mention, the stillness in a lake of water. When a lake of water is perfectly still, it acts like a mirror. And you can see the moon, the full moon, like there is the next couple of nights, and the stars in the heavens above. And it was the Japanese tradition said the most wonderful way to see a full moon is when it's reflected in a body of water, which is totally still. There's something magical about that. And that's what stillness is, when your mind is still. There's no movements, no waves in your mind. Then it's like it reflects perfectly the truth of existence, the Dhamma. In Pali it's samadhi pachayang yatha bhuta jnana dassana. It is stillness, samadhi. It's the cause of seeing things as they truly are. When there's any lack of stillness there, you can observe that like the thoughts in the mind. the thoughts are a sign of the mind isn't still. When you're really still, no thoughts, awareness, huge amounts of mindfulness, powerful, but nothing is moving. That's brilliant, it's beautiful. Are you okay going on a bit longer? Oh, this is a really good question here. Can there be happiness without there also being sadness? You can't. Wherever there's happiness, there always has to be some sadness, or the opposite, some suffering. That is one of the reasons why, I think it was St. Augustine, he was saying that, and this is a Christian tradition, that if you go to heaven, you have to spend one day a year in hell. Otherwise you wouldn't appreciate being in heaven. Over here, if you come to Jhana Grove, you must spend at least a couple of hours in the kitchen washing up. Otherwise you wouldn't appreciate just sitting here, being peaceful. Is that true, Claudia? No, it's good fun when you're giving. But no, because otherwise, as one person once said, and I thought it was a very easy statement, but very accurate, what is happiness is a space between two moments of suffering. What is suffering? The spaces between happy moments. You can't have one without the other. So you find one of the times you feel the most healthy is just after you recover from sickness. Sometimes you see the happiest people when your team has won the grand final in the competition. Why? Because all the times you've lost before. All those tears in the past, they actually make the happiness, they give it the sweetness. If you always were a winner, so what? You wouldn't appreciate it anymore. It's one of the reasons why our present world is incredibly luxurious, healthy, despite pandemics, got lots of food, lots of entertainment, lots of actually comfort, much more so than, say, 50 years ago. But it's never enough, is it? We always want something more, because no matter what you have, you can't get just total happiness. You always get some suffering and happiness, and suffering and happiness. So in the end, to escape from this world, people sometimes tell me, just though you're just trying to escape Ajahn Brahm. Yes! We're trying to escape. Sometimes we call this world called samsara, we call it prison. You've been born in prison. You've lived all your life in prison. Some of you done very well in your prison. You've got really nice cells, big houses with a garden in the back. You've got nice people to share it with. You've got TVs and stuff. You can do very well in prison these days. A big prison. And so a lot of times that people just try to spend their lives improving conditions inside their cell. But then there's something more than just, the life of, your body and wealth, comfort, whatever else you do in this world. And he always, as the Buddha described it, it's like this prison has 5 big walls. And those are the 5 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. What's beyond those walls? And that's what you actually find when you go into deep meditations. Deep meditation is not being unaware, it's being really aware. Sometimes for the first time. It's like seeing over the wall of prison, seeing what's on the other side. Stillness, peace. That's fantastic. So what we do is we teach you somehow or other to actually just let go of those 5 senses. Bliss out, see the purity and peace of the mind when the 5 senses aren't there. So you're having day release from prison. And afterwards you find, oh my goodness, I thought this was a very nice place, this world. That we can be improved. It can get better, but there's a limit. So there must always be some disappointment and sadness whenever there's happiness. Okay. If I still do not understand how to manage wandering thoughts, great. If you did understand how to manage wandering thoughts, you wouldn't need to be here anymore. So thank you. I don't bring mind home. Should we just allow it to wander? If I don't bring my mind back home, should I just allow it to wander? Thank you. How to understand and manage wandering thoughts. That other story, a famous story of the, I don't mind telling this story, like a personal story. I usually just tell the monks this, but well, why not let everybody know? That when my 6 rains retreat, I'm 47 years as a monk, that was 41 years ago, I found this perfect monastery in the north of Thailand. And in this monastery, I was the only one there. And I asked the villagers, why aren't there more monks here? And they said, they think it's too quiet. I thought, this is crazy. This is what I was always looking for. And it was really good food. It was up in the mountains. There was a traffic problem. The traffic problem was 1 day a week, a car would come up, a truck, to bring any mail and to take stuff down again. It was just like once a week delivery service. If you weren't looking in the right direction at that time, you wouldn't see it. Way up in the mountains, on the Burmese border. And so it was perfect. And there's beautiful caves in there. You can go inside the caves after lunch and go in there and just spend all afternoon in there. And there's maybe thunderstorms outside, you wouldn't hear them. It's a gorgeous place. So for me, it was perfect. But after about a month or 2 months, my mind started getting very restless. Real restless. And I tried to stop it. It wouldn't stop. My mind was wandering all over the place. I didn't have anyone to talk to. So it really sort of went a bit out of hand. I started thinking what I call unmonkish thoughts. Now, I was always really wanted to be a monk. And I liked, wearing the brown robes. But then I started thinking about, I was only 6 years as a monk. I was only 29 at the time. I thought, well, I'm still young. I wonder if she's still available, that ex-girlfriend. No, stop it, Ajahn Brahm. And all these thoughts kept invading my mind. And I tried to kick them out, and they just wouldn't go. And so after a while, I was thinking some crazy stuff. So what I thought then said, this is not working, trying to use my willpower to stop this. So I went to the main hall, I bowed to the Buddha statue, and just asked help. And I got an idea. And that was actually to do a deal. Because that's what you do in the West, you do deals. And I said, I will watch my breath 23 hours a day, except when I'm sleeping, obviously. And the rest of the day, 1 hour a day, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. That was the time I could think whatever thought I wanted. Sexy thoughts, old girlfriends, weird thoughts, anything. And I wouldn't stop it. If my mind wanted to think all that sort of sensory thoughts, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every day, you can do it. I won't stop you. The rest of the time, behave. You know what happened? What happened was that my mind was as crazy as ever. It was just totally sort of unrestrainable. And it came to 3 o'clock, and it really tires you out. And I just leaned against the wall of my hut, put my legs out. Okay, you can think of any any old girlfriend, any sexual stuff, anything at all. I keep my promises. No, you can go for it. And this is no exaggeration. For the next hour, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., I saw every breath. I never missed one. It was so easy. And it shocked me. What type of game are you playing, mind? That when I try to stop, unmonkish thoughts, they all come in. When I say you can come in, just I watch my breath, that's all. Natural. It taught me a big lesson. One of the reasons why that my mind was just wandering all over the place was because I was trying to control it. It was rebelling. Instead of letting it rebel, I was kind to it. When you're kind to it, it starts to behave. So if your mind wanders all over the place, please be kind to it. Let it. Learn from it. Why do you want to wander all over the place? It's a stupid thoughts, nothing which is really useful. You're doing this. Why? So understand, use wisdom and use kindness, never willpower or punishment. And then you'll find your mind likes you. And you can stay together for long periods of time. And the mind doesn't wander anywhere. It's not trying to run away from you. Sometimes, especially in Theravada, we just underestimate the power of loving kindness, of compassion, of forgiveness. That's one of the reasons why we do have big Buddhist society. Over here in West Australia, we have lots of monks and lots of nuns. You could have more if there was more kindness. But we're doing pretty well. That means that people don't wander away. There's sometimes, there's a Lakshman at the back over there, he's trained to be an anagarika. Just, why is it you've got so many people who like to come and stay at Bodhinyana Monastery? Why? And some of the people who think, oh, you've been here for years, why don't you find another monastery because make some space for others? No. Because they enjoy it, because it's a kind place to stay. Why do we get so much food? Do people come and bring food for you here this morning? How much did we pay them to come? Absolutely nothing. Why do so many people come here? You may think, oh, we can understand why they come and give food to the monks or to the nuns, but give food to you. They made all that food for you who came here. Did you enjoy it? Isn't it a wonderful thing? Their kindness. They didn't get paid. Actually, they did get paid with the joy and happiness they got afterwards. That's how this thing works. So with the kindness. Okay. Could you please go through some, give some light on karma. How it works, why, how it leads to enlightenment or so. Karma. What's a nice quick simile because I'm way over time as usual. This, was it? Karma, not really karma, but anyway, this is how Ajahn Chah would answer some of these things. He had a good sense of humor, I try to emulate as best as you possibly can. So when somebody asked him about meditation, what's meditation? Because this was many years ago. Is anyone from Sweden here today? Any Swedish people? No. Wow. Anyway, this guy was a professor at, I think, which university? Gutenberg. No, Gutenberg, no. One of the big universities in Sweden, about 40 years ago, 45 years ago, because he was sent by the Swedish government to Asia to check out what meditation was. So being a professor, he had a series of questions. He was paid for by the Swedish government, all expenses paid, to seek out sort of senior people who were great meditators and asked them the same 4 questions. The same 4 questions were: number 1, what is meditation? 2, how do you meditate? 3, why do you meditate? 4, what do you get out of meditation? And so when he got to Ajahn Chah gave these 4 answers. The first answer to your question, what is meditation? My answer is, what is eating? The second question, why do you meditate? The answer is, why do you eat? The third question, how do you meditate? How do you eat? Fourth question, what do you get out of meditation? What do you get out of eating? Those are the 4 answers. I thought they were brilliant. But the Swedish professor said, I can't take that back to university. And that's all you're getting, like it or not. And so some of the quick answers there were very powerful. Now, what is meditation? What is eating? Eating keeps you healthy. How do you eat? They don't actually really taught you how to eat. They taught you manners and etiquette. But it's a natural thing which we do. When we understand what peace is, what stillness is, it's a natural thing. We love eating that stillness, being in it. And it's great for our health. What do we get out of it? Health and wisdom and happiness. That's why we do it. He used to say after that point that meditation is food for the heart. And sometimes, you feel a bit of why am I teaching you meditating? Have I ever taught you how to eat? You put the food on the table and you find out how to eat. You put the meditation cushions down there on the floor and the walking meditation paths, and you learn how to keep your mind still and peaceful. Very simple, but very powerful. What is the law of karma? Karma is just what you do. And how it works, why, how it leads to enlightenment. What is food? How does food work? Just like there's good karma and bad karma, there's good food and there's bad food. You have the choice. What are you going to eat? Why? You've got to put something in your mouth. You do something in life, so you do those 2 things. By body, speech, and by mind, what type of karma do you do? How it leads to enlightenment or not. Little by little, as you eat, you find out what's healthy for you, what's not healthy for you. How it works for you is not the way it works for everybody. So little by little, you learn what's good for you and how to make your mind peaceful by making good karma, body, speech, and mind. Sometimes it's just you get inspired. When you get inspired, it's just so easy to meditate. You hear some great stories of others. So the story I'm going to tell now, the last story, I promised the last story this evening. This was the novice story. When Ajahn Chah would give talks, I know I'm 27 minutes over time, but that's nothing compared to when Ajahn Chah was alive. And he was giving this talk, it was going on and on and on and on. And over here, you can actually walk out any time you like. I won't do anything. I shouldn't have said that. Please lock the doors. But he was giving this really boring talk going on really over time. And of course, in those monasteries in Thailand, sometimes had some very young people there. Little novices, 10, 11 years of age, were there because they have nowhere else to go to. And they get looked after, cared for. And later on in their life, they disrobe and go and get married and go and get good education. But at least they had a place. It's like a social safety net in the monasteries. And this was one of them, this little kid. And as he was sitting there listening to Ajahn Chah go on and on and on, and on and on and on and on, and on and on and on. And then he started thinking, when is Ajahn Chah going to stop? When's he going to stop? When's he going to stop? And it became just a repetitive thing. He kept on thinking, when is he going to stop? 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 And he got something which we call like insight. And insight is looking at the same problem but from a different angle. So he was suffering a lot. He was very tired and very sore in his bones. But then he thought, not when Ajahn Chah's going to stop, when am I going to stop? The reason you tell the story is because that little novice stopped. When he opened his eyes afterwards, it was dawn. He'd been meditating for hours, really still. First time he got a deep meditation. This is what happens when you stop and become still. Am I going to stop? No. You stop. Okay, that's enough. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Okay. If it really, really was too long. Was that too long? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Sorry?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. Next question. Now, have a wonderful evening. If you want to do some more meditation, this is great. Want to go back to your room? Great. Whatever you need to do. Great.